Hi guys, my name is Lauren Barnes and I'm really excited to talk to you guys today about my career in biomedical engineering and the education and pathway I took to essentially have the job that I have today. Just to kick things off, a little bit about myself. I'm part of Big Brothers Big Sisters of Orange County where I mentor a teenager. I'm also very into sports and being outdoors. I did the cross country team at Brailleland High School, and then I was a triathlete at Cal Poly SLO where I went to school. And then most recently, I ran for Brailleland's school board. So if you recognize my name, it's probably from signs that were around Brea at the end of last year. So as I mentioned before, for my education, I got a Bachelor of Science degree in Biomedical Engineering from Cal Poly SLO. And I really love the school that I went to and the education I had. I think it really prepared me well for industry, and the thing that's really great about Cal Poly SLO is that they have a lot of corporate sponsors and corporate sponsorships and partnerships where they really open up opportunities for students to get involved with industry early on. Another reason I chose Cal Poly SLO is their motto is learn by doing. So a lot of the classes that you'll take at Cal Poly SLO, you'll realize from an engineering perspective are very hands-on, and there's lots of labs. And I really like that because I think if you're someone who likes to do things with your hands, or you really like to be hands-on with different projects, this is a great opportunity where a lot of their curriculum focuses on that. It's also just a great school overall. It was recently ranked 8th on the list of best master's and bachelor's engineering programs in the nation by the U.S. News and World Report. So I think just its status of being, a great school, and it produces students that are ready to get into industry, I just think it's a great opportunity. So if any of you guys are interested in a career in engineering or another STEM field, I'd highly recommend looking at Cal Poly SLO or Cal Poly Pomona, as they are polytechnic schools. So they really cater a lot to students that are pursuing that kind of STEM field. In college, I also spent a summer in Tanzania repairing medical equipment at a hospital there through the program Engineering World Health. I think a lot of students, one of the things you worry about or ask is like, do I need to get an internship, and how many internships do I need, and how critical is that to get a job? And for me, I never had a formal internship at a medical device company or even any type of corporation. I had summer jobs, but it was not really related to what I was studying or what I wanted to do long term for a career. But I think that this is just a great example that you can find something that you're passionate about, and it's going to give you some kind of experience, and that doesn't always need to be through a formal internship. You can do volunteering programs like what I did. You can also work at a research lab on campus, and you could definitely find opportunities that aren't so hard to get, and you don't need to put that much pressure on yourself to need some type of internship. That being said, though, internships definitely help when you're looking for an actual full-time career after graduating. So after graduating, I started my career at a company called Applied Medical, where I'm still working at today. And the mission of the company is to improve the affordability and accessibility of healthcare. And that's something that really resonated with me because I personally believe that we do need to improve on those kind of things and providing access. And I'm very lucky to be a part of a company where their mission is to be doing that. And specifically what we do is manufacture medical devices to be used in minimally invasive surgery. So that picture on the bottom left is a minimally invasive procedure. So say you needed to get your gallbladder or your appendix out, they're able to do the procedure through small devices that you'll see there called trocars, opposed to making a large incision in the stomach. So what I do is work with clinicians and surgeons in the field and our home office team to help promote making these types of devices that are great for patients as it improves patient outcomes, but is also great for surgeons too for their practices. And then we also build all of our products in-house at our own manufacturing facilities, which is very unique to see in a company. A lot of other companies, you'll see that they outsource their manufacturing to sometimes even other countries. So if you're someone who's an engineer and really likes to be hands-on and see how things are made, you don't really get that opportunity. But where I work, we actually have all of our manufacturing facilities in-house. So if I want to see how we make parts on an injection molding machine, I'm able to just go, down the street and see that happening. So from that aspect, as an engineer, I really love being part of a company that's so hands-on, and it really gives engineers the opportunity to understand how these kind of processes work because we do it in-house. And then another thing I love about Applied Medical is their focus on company culture. So since I've been there, they've had a variety of programs. That's a picture of some of the yoga classes we have, and they really just want to make sure that team members are having work-life balance, which I think is really important and something you've probably all heard of, and making sure that there's a way to connect with your coworkers. So we have yoga classes. Before the pandemic was happening, we had a basketball league where you could join a basketball team with other coworkers, and I just really love that aspect of it because I think sometimes work can be super stressful, but it is nice to have these kind of opportunities where it's a little bit more fun, and they really emphasis on that cultural aspect of the company as well. So a day in the life of my job, I specifically work in the clinical development department, and you'll see at any type of medical device company, there's a lot of different departments. There's ones called research and development, clinical development, and sometimes it can get a little bit confusing of what is what. But essentially for my role in the clinical development department, we're really the interface between our home office of engineers and people that are designing devices and surgeons that are actually using them. So before the pandemic, I did travel quite a bit for my job, and sometimes that would be towards trade shows or conferences for surgeons, and other times I was actually observing cases in the OR. So one of the things I'll do is, if we have permission to, observe an actual surgical case inside an operating room, and the reason we do that is because we want to understand what are the user's needs for medical devices. So we like to see how surgeons are using the devices and also collect feedback from them to really understand what are the needs and what do they need devices to do. And we use that knowledge to go back to our home office and work with design engineers, different types of departments that we have to actually manufacture these and make sure they're meeting our users' needs. So I work a lot directly with surgeons, which I think is really fun because I always liked the medical device industry and healthcare, but I didn't picture myself going to school for a long time and becoming a doctor or being as hands-on as a nurse might be. And so I really like that I have that kind of exposure to my job, but ultimately, I'm working on medical devices and I'm not actually practicing medicine. Another thing we work on a lot that you'll see in the top right corner picture is going to conferences for surgical societies. So a lot of times surgeons in a certain specialty, for example, colorectal surgery or general surgery, they'll be part of a society, which is essentially a group of surgeons that meet together to discuss the latest and greatest in healthcare technology. And we go to a lot of those conferences and trade shows to share our products and also understand what do surgeons need, and we use that information again to go back to the home office and see how we can further develop medical devices or see if we can find a new medical device that might not be in the market but we think can be really helpful towards people. And then the other part of my job is actually being in the office in a lab or at my desk and working on testing. So when we make devices, we have to make sure we test them before we release them to the market to make sure they're effective and also safe for patients. So I play a role in that where we'll create simulated uses in a lab. So instead of actually needing to test it on a person, we create a simulated environment that's similar to that, and we'll do testing on that. And then we make sure our devices are safe. And the way that's regulated is through the FDA, which you guys are probably familiar with. So we submit a lot of our devices to them, and then they basically give us approval that it's safe and we can release it into the market. So what sparked my interest in medical devices? For me in high school, I really gravitated towards the math and science classes. So at Brailleland High School, I took classes like AP Biology, AP Chemistry, and AP Calculus, and those kind of classes that really solidified my passion for STEM, and I knew I wanted to pursue that kind of career moving forward. However, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do in terms of a college major. I knew I was always interested in medicine and healthcare, but like I said before, I didn't envision myself becoming a doctor or a nurse. And so when it came to applying to colleges, I was looking at different college majors, and the major of Biomedical Engineering really stuck out to me because I felt like it was something that I had skills in terms of being pretty good at my math and science classes, but also I just thought it was interesting. And ultimately, that's why I pursued a career in biomedical engineering and then further got a job at a medical device company because I just feel like it's something that it really sparks my interest and it's something I'm passionate about. But that being said, if you guys are hearing this presentation and think medical devices is something that interests you, you don't have to be limited to majoring in biomedical engineering. I also work with people that have mechanical engineering backgrounds, electrical engineering backgrounds, and ultimately just having those more specific majors can just kind of tailor what your role might be. So I don't work on devices with electrical components, but we hire electrical engineers for those kind of devices that need that. And the design engineers I work with that really design the devices and then make prototypes, a lot of those people have mechanical engineering backgrounds. So although I have a biomedical engineering background and I work for a medical device company, the types of candidates that we hire have a really broad array of backgrounds, and that's not even limited to engineering. There's people I work with more science backgrounds or math backgrounds or physics backgrounds, and all of us have a different set of skills that we can bring to the table and creates a very dynamic environment. A lot of people ask about what is the average salary, and I think that's a great question. So this is a table, this is from 2017, so it's pretty accurate still, but it just shows the average starting salary for someone coming out with a Bachelor's of Science degree in these different subspecialties. So as you can see, biomedical engineering is a little high on the list at about $67,000 for a starting salary, which I think is a great starting salary, and obviously you'll have more career growth, and you'll see that most people will have, a 10% raise every year or so. So that's going to obviously keep growing the longer you're in your career. But that being said, this is just an estimate, so things fluctuate. But I think it's safe to say that most people starting out in this kind of industry would start between $60,000 to $75,000. And then that specifically can change depending on the company you're at or what exactly you're doing. People that are going to larger tech companies might start out a little bit higher opposed to going towards like a medical device company. But that being said, it's a lot of work getting degrees in these kind of majors, but I definitely think it pays off. And in the long term, if you're very, worried about career growth or what your financial pathway might look like, I definitely think a career in engineering certainly provides financial stability. And another question I think a lot of people ask is, what type of degree do you need? So I personally only have a bachelor's degree in engineering, specifically in biomedical, which for most people takes about 4 years, but there is a lot of different courses, so it is common sometimes people take up to 5 years to get a bachelor's degree in one of the engineering specialties. But that being said, if you want to work at a medical device company, like I said before, it doesn't need to be in biomedical. You can also major in mechanical, electrical, or industrial, and all those still have applicable aspects of work. And a lot of times you'll find in those different categories or those different majors, you can also take electives that would be more so medical or biomedical based. So if you're interested in having a mechanical engineering degree, you can still definitely get coursework that's reflective of the medical device industry. And there are people I work with that have master's degrees. This is optional. You can certainly find a job without a master's degree, as I did. But if you have a master's degree, this can usually yield a slightly higher starting salary, by usually a few thousand at least. And that's just up to the person. And with a master's degree, you can get into kind of a more broad array of educational pathways that's not so focused on the technical aspect of engineering. There's people that'll get engineering management degrees. Maybe you want to take more of a management route and you like managing people or a team. That's a great master's degree you can get. And then also very common, people get MBAs, which are applicable to a lot of different industries, but we'll see that here as well. So you can certainly find a job with a 4-year degree, but if you're looking to expand your education further and have potentially maybe a higher starting salary, master's degrees are also very available. And I think something you'll also find in a lot of colleges these days is they have a 4+1 program, which is essentially means you take 4 years to get your bachelor's degree, and then in one additional year you can also get your master's degree. Cal Poly SLO, where I went, had that kind of program, and a lot of people I work with, their schools also had those programs as well, which is great if you don't want to have to do another 2 full years of schooling, and it also saves a little bit of money. But that being said, bachelor's degrees certainly can get you a job, and master's degrees can just make you more of a competitive candidate. And another question I think a lot of people ask is, how hard is it to find a career in the medical device industry? And to that, I'd say don't be discouraged if you apply for many jobs and do not hear back from that many companies. It takes quite a bit of time to land a job. I started applying to jobs in the March of my graduating year, so a few months before I was supposed to graduate. And I applied to a handful of places, only got a few interviews, and then had a couple job offers to choose from. So it's very competitive. You'll definitely find a job. You don't need to worry that you're going to graduate and not find one, but definitely have patience. And I think it's important also that you're going to like what you're going to be doing. So that means being selective and maybe waiting to find the perfect job for you. I think that's okay to do too. And that being said, it's challenging to find a job, but it makes it a lot easier if you have involvement and work experience, and that doesn't always need to be an internship. So I'd really say if you're interested in getting into one of these fields and pursuing an engineering major in college, make sure you're getting involved with campus clubs and research labs. All that type of experience is very valuable, and a company would value that. And I think that it's a lot easier to get involved in those types of things. So if you want to get more design experience, or you want to get maybe your foot in the door in the medical device industry, you should join a campus club that is focused around that. And that's a great experience as well, and can also give you opportunities for leadership if you can become a president, and all those types of things really help finding a job. So although it is a challenging major, it's certainly rewarding in the end in terms of finding the career that you're passionate about. And with that, that's all I have for you guys. If you have any questions or want to, connect with me, I put my LinkedIn there, and then also my email. I'd be happy to answer any questions. It was really great talking to you guys, and best of luck on your futures.